Hi everyone, welcome to the Matchbook Horse Racing Podcast. We've got Cheltenham on the agenda this weekend. 2 days of action, Friday and Saturday. We'll do Friday in the round before specific races on Saturday. We've also got Doncaster on Saturday. Joined by Micheál Deasy and Dan Overall. Welcome along, both of you. A reminder for everyone to like, follow and subscribe, however you are enjoying this content. Best no-cost way of supporting all of our content. And also use the bonus code POD50 if you want 50 quid in free bets. T's and C's are on the website. There we are. Let's get stuck into selections. We'll do so on Friday, first of all. We haven't all got one in the 150, but Deasy and I do. I'll kick off with L'Empresse. Deasy, I feel like Venetia might just be about to get going, and a few other horses are going to shorten a touch. I like a class act in a handicap. That's exactly what this horse is. He goes fresh, and I thought he was just about a fair enough price at the top of the market. L'Empresse, I think around about 5.5. So I definitely want him on side. But you're looking elsewhere.
Yeah, I'm going to take a flyer on Goal Road in what is only his third ever chase start. He was hardly there a few weeks ago and finished behind Kiki Joe, who went on to win again. I think it was 2 weeks ago, so that was good enough for me. He's been running off big weights in handicap hurdles for a long time now, but he's had two chases. One was at Ascot, which he won, and he finished second then another time. So he's actually well able to jump a fence. They've kept him chasing for a long time, but he's actually a decent chaser, and he's race fit. He's 12.0. I could see him. Like, he loves Cheltenham. He gets around the course very well. I think he's just overlooked in price. He's a big price because he doesn't have much chasing experience. But at 12.0, I think for horse was great course for him. And Tristan Davis is love winner at Cheltenham. Thought he was a nice bet at 12.0 for a win place at least. Yeah.
And you can give us your other one as well before we get to Dan in the 225.
My other one then is Seddon in the Veterans Chase. Again, this is a bit of a flyer as well, but my thinking was he's very unexposed against in veterans races. There's been plenty, like a lot of these have run. Just trying to get it up here now in front of me. A lot of these have plenty of experience though in the veterans chases, and like you've El Dorado Allen there at the top is probably best caught fresh, but he was very good the last time. But Seddon has still been running in open handicaps. I mean, he ran there a couple of weeks ago in the Grand Sefton. He's well fit. I think probably dropping into this level might suit him better. Tis a long time since he's won, but again, look, he won at the festival a couple of weeks ago or a couple of years ago over course and distance. He's the rag of the field here. He's 17.0. Again, I just thought that was too big for a horse that has again good course distance for him. This is probably calmer waters. I love the veteran chases. I went through this a good bit. Shout out to Copperhead as well, but I just think at the bigger price, I'd like to be on Seddon at 17.0.
You can rattle through yours, please, Dan Overall. And hello.
No problem. Yeah, there's a few to get through. So we'll start in the opener at Cheltenham on Friday. It's a really good novice hurdle, actually. Plenty of these to be keeping an eye on with a view to the future. But I think Kingston Queen getting the weight is going to be pretty tough to beat. Her hurdling debut at Chepstow was really impressive, and the form of that has worked out really well. Obviously, this is a bit of a step back in trip, but 2 mile 1 on the new course would be stiff enough. I think the Pipe team think the world of her, and they'll be looking very much, I think, back from the Mayor's Novice Hurdle at Cheltenham, and obviously over the same course and distance. I just thought around the 3.0, 3.25 mark, that was a fair price. In the veterans race that Deasy's covered there, I think this is very much D-Day for Fugitive, who obviously ran behind Eldorado Allen, quite well beaten in November. But that race actually wasn't meant to take place. That was originally a cross-country race, but they almost put that in as a replacement. So I think realistically, this has probably been the target for some time. He shaped perfectly well that day, just faded late on. And I think at this stage of his career, probably needs a run to bring him on. Obviously, his new course record is phenomenal. You only have to go back to this time last year when he was third in the December Gold Cup off a mark 150, down to 143. Cheap pieces back on, and there are so many pace angles in this race. I think that's going to be a horse, as we know, who likes to be held up and will come late. I think Richard Hobson's probably due for a good weekend. The 335 is a 3-mile handicap hurdle where probably a few exposed enough types in here, but Titan Discovery at around 12.0 interested me. I think it's only his third 3-mile handicap start. One of his first one at Windsor, where he battled quite well to win around quite an unorthodox track. Did well under the circumstances. At Haydock, he shaped better than the bare result on his first start for a while. He was actually due to have a prep run, but missed it. So I think that'll bring him on a lot and is still relatively unexposed at this trip. And then at Doncaster, the 308, George's lad's been, in my eye, a massive eye catcher on both his starts this season. He was quite a progressive novice hurdler last campaign, fell in the EBF final when still bang there. First start at Fontwell around a track that was a bit too tight for him, bit too keen. Dropped in trip at Ascot to 2 miles and stayed on really well. But his best performance last season came over course and distance. A big galloping 2.5 miles is ideal. And I just think this is an ideal race for him.
I'll chime in on the 335. You mentioned your horse Titan Discovery is relatively unexposed. I mean, mine would fit that bill as well, although it's a good bit shorter. Lucky Manifest, who I thought shaped with loads of promise over the intermediate trip last time. And I wanted to make a note the way he battled back towards the line that if he ran over 3 miles, then I'd support him. Well found in the market, obviously, based upon that run last time, which I think is decent form and very lightly raced, in particular for this yard. Just a third start for the yard, having won on debut and then dropped back slightly in trip to run really well last time. So this trip should really bring out the best in Lucky Manifest. So at 5.0, I definitely want that horse on side. Right, back we go to, not back we go, we haven't been there. We'll go to Saturday and we'll just go through in ITV order. So first of all, the Mayor's Handicap Chase at Cheltenham. Just you mad enough to have a go in this one, DC, but it's a big price.
Muted. It is a big price, but like you, I'm expecting Venetia to get going at some stage, and I've gone for her runner in this Strava de Burley. Won twice early on the season last year when the yard was flying and the form kind of just tailed off over the season, but she kept running well. She had a few seconds, generally jumps and travels well kind of from the front. She's a prominent runner. Again, she's had a pipe up there a couple of weeks ago. She ran at Carlisle and was running fine until she clouted the fence, kind of 5 out, kept going, but the run kind of tailed off, finished third. Again, it was just the price that kind of drew me in. Charlie Deutsch is on. This race kind of goes either the top weight or the bottom weight over the years. She's in there at a nice 10-10 and at 26.0. I think she's a nice win place bet where you could be getting 4 or 5 places on the exchange for this.
Welcome along, everyone joining in. Peter, Dale, some regulars. Welcome to both of you. Dale's going to be playing at Donny. You might be going to Donny. I recollect where you live, Dale, so good luck there. The Support the Hunt Family Fund December Gold Cup is up next, and I would encourage you, there's still time, by the way, to check out the bid page for the Hunt Family Fund. It's the Winter Wonderland Fund, and it's all for a fabulous cause. John's spoken so openly this week about why it's important to the family and why they want to do this, particularly around this time of year. So please do bid on some of those incredible lots that are there, or just give if you can't afford any of those things. That's perfectly acceptable, but it will make a huge difference to John and Amy, but also to all of those causes. So genuinely check that out. It's for an excellent cause, and if you love racing, this is a way that we can really support that cause. I'll come to you first, Dees, because I was tempted by your selection, but I haven't quite. I've gone shorter, but you can make the case.
Yeah, my selection is Colonel Harry. Last seen winning the Grand Sefton there on the entry. Look, this is obviously a very competitive race, but I went up and down it. I think that the ground here is going to be proper soft without being heavy. I think a middle distance trip is perfect for him. I think he's been tried. I think he's won over 3 miles. He's been tried, but I think 2.5 miles around Cheltenham. He acts around Cheltenham. He's run fine here a couple of times. He's just in form. I think he was just the one I kept coming back to, and especially the last day. Like, I think he won that race quite well without having. And again, he won it off top weight, which is a fair performance. I think he's arriving here in very good form. And again, it was the price as well. Like he's 10.0. I think that's juicy enough. I might play him win place, but I was going through a few of them. I found a few of them a bit too short at the top of the market. Like even Jaguar, that stable is really, really out of form, and that would kind of put me off him. So I just said at around 10.0, if you can get about that, Colonel Harry arrives here and a career best. Conditions will be perfect for him. And yeah, I think I'm fairly strong on him now, to be honest, for this.
All right, Dan, you can come in next.
Yeah, it's I don't think it's the deepest renewals of this race you'll ever see. Obviously, Jaguar's one with the most upside, but there has to be concerns, as Dee says, about the stable form. And obviously, they skipped November to come here because they were concerned about the ground and carrying top weight there. And it just seems a bit of a delayed start to his season. And they're already sort of making noises that they'll be happy with a good run and maybe back on trials day for a similar race, which wouldn't exactly fill me with confidence. And generally speaking, this race has maybe been a tad predictable, and then it often goes to a horse who runs very well in November. And that kind of leads me to Vincenzo, who was very well supported that day. Actually went off favourite for it, ran perfectly well in second behind Panic Attack, who we know as Frank the Form, and a few little scrappy jumps on the way round. But I also don't think he was helped by the way he was positioned that day. It was a creditable run in second under the circumstances. Still very unexposed at this trip. You go into last season as well. His form behind Booster Bob now reads extremely well. I just think he's got a very solid profile for what you'd look for in the typical winner of this race. Sam Thomas the other day gave a bit of an interview where obviously we know to expect them to be quite well forward for their first run, but he seemingly thinks he has improved for that first run based on what he's seeing at home. And from that mark 139, there should still be a decent race in him. And I just think he ticks kind of all the boxes you'd look for the winner of this race.
Dermot said, how on earth has Ho Jolie Smoke got Holy Joe Smoke got that weight? He's, for me, it's not a weight thing necessarily, but loads of horses have come out the November race and gone on to win this, and I think the new course will suit better. I know he showed his best for Sandown, but he's a proper staying horse. He's best over 3 miles. This distance, new course here will suit, and I'm hoping Dan Skelton hasn't dried up yet in the winning these big Saturday handicap, but he just sort of leapt off the page for me, and you can still back him really a win place price. I really struggle to see him out the 3 off the back of that run last time. Solid jumper, proved adept at the track last time, and will just want a bit more of a test than he got there, and you often see that on the new course. So 5.5, I definitely have that horse on side. Pan Am handicap Chase at Doncaster next. Good race this. Excuse me, I'm taking a flyer on Earn River purely because if he wins and I haven't backed him at 17.0, I'll cry. And that's the only case I can make. I'm not necessarily encouraging everyone else to do so, but I've gone to the well a few times since the horse's last course win here. And off this mark, he's got a chance, surely, and he's outside of the bunch. So 17.0. I wish there were 8 in there. There's not. I've got to have him on side. Dan.
If there's a veterans race at Donny in the next couple of months, I imagine he could be teed up for that nicely, because he's a horse who normally needs a run or two, and obviously just only loves flat left-handed tracks. He would be one I would watch. The one I think who's just been planned out for this race and is extremely obvious because he's the favourite is Doc Pick Me. Again for Richard Hobson, so I'm hoping for a good weekend for him. But obviously he was a good second in this race last year behind Charlie Uber Alice, and I think when you look at the field size that day compared to this, I think it's a fair bit weaker, and he's just been shaping similarly well on his last couple of starts, a bit like last year. I think he's been very much built up with a view to these races, obviously not just this, but the race in January as well, which he won off this mark, 129. Only a small field, he'll go out in front, he'll jump well as he often does. It'll take a really well handicapped one, I think, to beat him, because these conditions are ideal. And when I looked at the opposition, nothing else really struck me as glaringly obvious. I think Prince Zaltar may be the main danger, but I have my doubts about a real kind of galloping 3 miles for him. Whereas I think Doc Pick Me is just the solid one in that he'll go from. We know he handles conditions, and no surprise if this has been a plan for a long time.
Dee, similar sort of price about yours?
Yeah, I went for Prince Zaltar, and the reason I went for him is that, like, again, look, since he moved to Dan Skelton, he's been hurdling. He's gone chasing here. And he's in here off the bottom weight because they have also thrown in Joyo Mashan in, who is the top weight, though he's keeping Prince Altar's weight down nicely. He's running here off 10-11 with Tristan Durrell as well, giving an extra £3. This could end up being a bit of a slog. He stays well. Dan has squeezed an extra bit of juice out of his hurdle mark already. No, he goes chasing. I just thought he was an interesting one at 4.5.
All right, we move back to Cheltenham with the 235. It's a 2-mile handicap chase, and you can come straight back in, Deasy, with your shout. One of a couple in there for Joe Tizard, triple trade.
Yeah, I think it was 2 years ago. Triple Trade put up a few cracking runs over course. I think it was 2023. He finished second and finished first in October, November over course and distance at Cheltenham. Shot up the weights. Ran in the Grand Annual, ran fine, but last year he had an absolute shocker. He just was beaten 40 lengths, 25 lengths, 21 lengths. Now they've since come out and said that he had an issue last season, but what that meant is that he dropped from running off 135. The last day he ran off 130, 123, so he dropped a stone. Won well, again, over very similar conditions the last time. He's running here off 128. I think he's definitely better than that. The Tizards are flying when he won the last time. They're still in good form, but just for a horse with such good course form, distance form, acts well and soft, good to soft, I think he's just a very interesting runner at 8.5.
And Dan?
Yeah, interesting little race. Obviously, a lot of very exposed types in here. I guess you'd say Country Mile, David's Well were some of the more interesting runs where David will obviously improving quite rapidly. Country Mile will today be the day, but the one I think has taken really well to chasing and is now worth a shot in a race like this is Accelero for Jane Williams. Now, he was a horse I think they always thought a lot of, but they very much minded him over hurdles, very patient with him. Obviously, he made his chase debut in that race, won by Wade out of Worcester in the race. I think Jax Jr. was in there as well. It's a strong piece of form, and that was over 2.5, and he was just so exuberant from the front, but you could tell he was a natural. He was just a pure natural chaser. Julie dropped back down in trip at Warwick, which we know is a fair test of jumping, back to 2 miles, and he was electric that day. Just fantastic from the front. Obviously up a few pounds for that, and it was only a free-runner race. So the form of it on the surface, it really isn't much to shout about. But it's the potential that he brings to the table, in that obviously he's a 5-year-old, clearly a horse with a lot of ability, a natural, will go from the front. I just think ticks an awful lot of boxes in terms of what you'd be hoping for that could leap off the page in a race like this, whereas a lot of the others, you kind of know where the limitations lie.
Yeah, I agree, except for David's Well for me, who I just thought won with a bit in hand off the back of an absence last time. Harry Cobden's on. I just kept coming back to him. I don't think he's lobbed in necessarily, but at 3.5, I have to be a backer on what he did at Haydock. I just thought the more I watched the closing stages, thought he had a bit more left under the bonnet, and hopefully sometimes off the back of the break and then the second start they don't necessarily kick on, but I hope he does. And I want him on side at 3.5. Just you, Dees, for the mare's hurdle, but Dale agrees with Katira, 1.66. How strong a bet is that?
Well, she's very short, but she should probably be 1.2, shouldn't she? Like, just at the weights, everything is wrong at the weights, so she's compared to the rest of them, she's top class. If that's your kind of thing, 1.66, have it all on. Yeah.
Sound like Harry Finley.
Yeah.
If it's value at 1 point, if it should be 1.2.
Pay for your
Our producer has said the same thing.
Get the Waitrose money in.
He said something once like, if you've got a donkey and a horse running across the beach and a horse is 1.1, you'd back the horse, wouldn't you?
You had to see that.
None of this I don't bet odds on nonsense.
For gambling week is over, so we can say this kind of thing now again.
I thought this Albert Bartlett was I thought the Lucinda Russell horse would probably win, but
yeah,
I thought this was tough. I thought there's a chance the fad might be a bit shorter. Take it away with Reckless Spending.
Yeah, like comment John is, he looks the best of them, and he's proven over course and distance and everything. But he's quite short, and you can have an improver in this. And I thought reckless spending. Just looking at him the last day at Ascot, he's running over 2 miles 3.5, and he just got like he was with them coming into the straight, but he just got done for pace. But he stayed on. They never really got away from him. He only lost by 3.25 lengths. I mean, all he was doing was staying. This is a stairs race. I'm hoping that the step up and trip will suit him. And Nicky Henderson's yard is starting to hit form now. They've had a good few winners there recently in a few seconds. So I'm just hoping that it brings out a bit of improvement in him at 7.0.
Dan Overall.
Yeah, hoping for a big swing in the form. Obviously, Conman John won in October, and Casino de Mott made his hurdling debut that day, 19 lengths behind. But I'm not really sure on what Conman John achieved that day, because he was out in front. Nothing ever really looked like getting to him. And a lot of those in behind, obviously Great Fleet was well beaten behind No Drama This End, who then he went on to win a weaker race thereafter. All those in behind just never really got to him. So I'm not really sure what that form is worth, especially when you look at his debut as well, where he could have crawled home beating a horse who's been beaten at short odds since in a 4-runner race. So I thought he might be vulnerable on a new course, stiffer test of stamina against some horses who are clearly probably more on the upward curve. And I think Casino de Mott could well bridge that gap and then some. Obviously, that was his hurdling debut. It was a stiff assignment. And then he dropped back in trip at Kempton over 2 mile 5, where for a lot of that race, he was getting the worst of it. But this is just a pure out-and-out stayer who did exceptionally well, I think, at Kempton to get up, beating Fresh Kicks, who won next time out, and clearly has taken a step forward from that debut. The Tizzards in general love this division. They love this race. They often aim one at it. And it's a race, generally speaking, for a proper, just out-and-out 3-miler. Obviously, the new course being more of a test compared to the old course. So if you're going to make all, like Conman John did last time, it's much easier to do that on the old course compared to the new. And I just thought, I mean, his price now is 19.0. He's drifting quite markedly. And it's a shame there isn't 8 runners, but it wouldn't surprise me if there's a fair bit of improvement to come. And even if he's maybe not up to winning, I think he'll be one of those who's plugging on at the finish and could well finish second. So I thought that was a big price at 19.0.
The 3:17 at Donny's a 2 mile handicap hurdle. Just me here, and it's a bit of a sort of history bet with Washington. I had this horse tracked when with Ollie Murphy, and the horse proved a bit down the weights. And then I was the horse went to Paul Nichols's and the handicap chase. I left him alone, and then lined up at Chepstow in a handicap hurdle. And I thought, here we go for Harry Derham, and went off about 1.8. So I wasn't the only one. And then I left him alone when he actually won at Ferryhouse. So at 5.0. I still think there's room off the mark. This is not as competitive, obviously, as Ascot last time. Megan Fox is on board. I'm fine. That's not the angle. It's just the horse angle. It's not like I'm, I think positive or negative about Megan riding a claimer on board. It's just I want, in the shape of this race, I definitely want the horse on side anyway. I still think there's room off that sort of mark to manoeuvre a little bit. But I've got history there, and maybe that's clouding my judgment. 2.5 mile handicap hurdle next, 3:35. And we agree with Fergus O'Brien's Sogal at 4.5. Did I say that right, Dees?
Well, if it was spelled right in Irish, it'd be Shiog Gal. Means bright fairy. Shiog.
Shiog Gal.
Yeah.
Thank you. I backed her in the Mayor's Bumper a couple of years ago at Cheltenham at the November meeting. Was that last year? Was it last year?
Yeah, she ran in the bumpers for the first couple of starts last season. Yeah,
it was, wasn't it? I think she's decent. She bumped into a decent in that bumper, and I think she could have a decent season for a yard that excel with this type of horse. What do you want to add, Dan?
Oh, she just looks exceptionally well handicapped, and I'm surprised she's drifted a bit. She's actually out to around 5.5 now, and Jubilee Alpha has come for a bit of money into 3.5. And it's no easy task giving weight away again. Obviously, you found her out in the Richard Barber behind Sweet Caroline. She's between a bit of a rock and a hard place, I feel, with her mark. But you compare that to Swagao, who just, her form is so solid. Like in bumpers, she looked very good. A lot of her form's over 2 miles, so she won on the hurdling debut. She was then only beaten just under 3 lengths behind Jubilee Alpha, getting £3. But say only 3 lengths at Windsor over 2 miles. We're staying on that day. Charisma was in there. Bluey was in there. That's rock solid mare's form. She won that Newbury Mares handicap, which is always a very strong race. Well back to do so. Was value for more than the margin she won it by in the end, I think, because she kind of messed it around towards the end. But the runner-up was then a close second to Jubilee Alpha in a listed race. So it just all stacks up really well. She had a prep run, basically, I'd say, for this at Carlisle in a race where I think 80% of the field were having a prep with a view to something in the future, but ran perfectly well that day. I still think 123, she has plenty of scope for. She's still very unexposed at this kind of trip. And yeah, quite simply, I know it's a handicap and the whole job is to find the best handicapped horse in the race, but she's the one that leaps off the page.
DC, who are you with?
I am with Lucy Wadham's horse, Pretending. Pretending went off at 4.5 in this last year, 7-2, same race, after being well backed. And this race actually won by Woodhoo last year at 11.0. So Joyous finished second and Take No Chances finished third. It was a right good race, and Pretending was right there with them, I'd say, until the last probably half a furlong, where she did the front three just passed her and she was just left come home. She's running off £3 lower this year and she's 19.0. So I just think the price is wrong. Again, look, she had a run there recently at the 3 weeks ago there in Kempton, so she should be spot on, ready to go for this. And again, it was just a price thing. I think she's far too big a price. And Lucy Wadham has won this race twice in the last 5 years as well, so there's obviously one that she targets with her best mare. So yeah, at a big price, 19.0, I thought Pretending it was a well worth a win place bet again in a race where you might get 4 places on the exchange. I'd also like to give a shout out to Lagoon Nebula as well, who actually won at Cheltenham in the April meeting. He's sent over by an Irish trainer, and Andrew Kinnairn's 26.0. Wouldn't surprise me, no, she ran very well, but I was just more solid than Pretending.
Dale said, nurse Susan to keep losing until Cheltenham Festival Dan Skelton plot, in my view. I do think that's interesting. I think you just got to factor that. We know what a good target trainer he is, and I think we've mentioned it a few times. I think that's something you can.
She's only 127 though. How much can she go down and run in any race at Cheltenham at the festival if she goes down much? Yeah. And she's had a load of injury issues, Nurse Susan, over the years. She's 8 turning 9. I mean, I'd say they'll go for this. I don't think there are too many days ahead of her. Not every Skelton horse in a handicap is plotting backwards from March, as we've seen this year. Plenty have been ready to win a decent race.
Anymore.
Yeah, exactly. The MO's changed, though. And this is a 20 gram race? Like, that's what they've been great at hoovering up this season.
Yeah.
I think it's an interesting factor, though. Right. Match with 0 long shot, live an hour for each race. Most likely to get best odds with 0 margin, 0 commission. I'm Earn River in the 205 at Dolly. DC.
Colonel Harry in the December Gold Cup.
Dan.
Lunar Discovery on the Friday in the 3 mile handicap hurdle.
And best bets. Right, £5 money back as a best bet. Treble. We went close a couple of weeks ago. And these aren't too silly prices. So you have £5 on this treble. If it wins, congratulations. If it doesn't, you get your money back. It's a shot to nothing. 235 at Cheltenham for me. David's Well for Chris Gordon, Harry Cobden, 3.5. DC.
Colonel Harry in the December World Cup, 9.0.
And Dan.
Swag Gal in the Mares Handicap Hurdle.
Not bad. How would you rate that effort, DC?
No, it's a shocking one. I keep pronouncing it different every time.
She-Ug Gal.
She-Ug Gal. I'm going to remember that for... I'm not in. I'm not going to be talking about that from Hong Kong. So there we are. Right, thanks, everyone. Well done. DC, Dan, thank you. Thanks for everyone for joining in. We will see you again next week and have a profitable Cheltenham or elsewhere, wherever you're punting. Bye-bye.